Hi and welcome back. Today I'm going to be trying out and reviewing a new paintbrush that I got for Christmas. It's an Aquafine Sky-Flow 3-inch synthetic wash brush. I just love the name Sky-Flow. So let's test it out on a sky practice and see if the sky really does flow with this brush. I'm quite curious to see if this synthetic brush works well for a sky, because I am always on the lookout for synthetic replacements for my animal hair brushes. So I'm going to just try it out on the back of an old painting. It's taped to my board with ordinary decorator's masking tape. It's Saunders Waterford cold pressed paper, and you can see how floppy the hairs are, sort of, but sort of firm floppy, if you know what I mean. This is wider than my extra large Pro Art Harkey brush. It's got a nice solid handle, nicely shaped, and I quite like the feel of the synthetic hairs. What I'll probably do is use my small 3/4 inch Aquafine, Aquafine 1-stroke flat brush with it. If I need a brush maybe to lift out some clouds, or I'll use some tissue. I want to try painting a really beautiful blue sky with some clouds. It seems to hold water okay, not quite as well as animal hair. I mean, animal hair holds so much water, but I'm getting good coverage across the page. I'm looking at it from a slant just to make sure that it's completely wet, because I want to paint a wet in wet sky in my normal way and just kind of see how this brush applies the paint. This is raw sienna, just putting on a sort of very, very weak coat of that across the wet page to just take away from the white of the paper a bit, and that should help me to get in a few subtle cloud shadows. So now what I'm going to do is mix up a mixture of ultramarine blue and cerulean blue. I find the two together can give a really nice bright blue. Cerulean blue can be a little bit over bright and harsh, and ultramarine can just dry back a bit too much. So combining the two I find works well. Now I've got the paint on. You can see it's flowing nicely. I think with a bit of practice and getting used to this brush, because the hairs move in a completely different way to the Harkey brush, I think I could get to quite like this. And I'm pretty sure they do them in a range of sizes, so I'll have to get hold of a slightly smaller one or a couple as well, because I like to paint with a few brushes and it stops me from having to waste time washing brushes out. You can see how easy it is just to pull the Sky-Flow brush across the sky. I've just added some extra water to it just to try and get that paint to just run and flow a little bit more on the page, the way I always do. And a bit more. You can see it's more or less covering a quarter of a sheet at a time with its 3-inch size. Now that's better. That's subtler. We've got a nice subtle coverage, and don't worry about the yellow looking a little bit green at the moment. It's raw sienna, so it shouldn't end up looking green. As it dries, it should just give me some cloud shadows and a little bit of that sort of strange yellowy grey light. This is a piece of kitchen towel, paper towel, and I'm just carefully lifting out some clouds through the blue sky, using my flat brush just to mop up any beads of water that run down the page, because the board's at 45-degree angle. And back to the synthetic flat brush to lift out just a few more clouds, building up those cloud layers so I get sort of some depth to the sky. Just need to wash my brush out in between because I'm lifting paint off. And then back with another bit of tissue or paper towel, and very lightly touching it. I'm not scrubbing hard, I'm dabbing really lightly now to get some smaller clouds and just maybe join up a few of these so that they look sort of harmonious but not too samey, if you know what I mean. As it dries, a lot of this will soften back and it'll lighten up too. So I'm working quite quickly, and as I say, making sure I'm not dabbing off right back to dry paper, if you see what I mean. I'm just keeping the page nice and moist so that it will diffuse and soften. And now the final test of this brush, will it dry brush? And yes, it will. Look at that. I'm just going to leave it like that for the impression of water. I'm very impressed with the dry brush there. I wasn't expecting it to do that, but it does. So I'm very happy. So I think I'm going to just about leave it at that for this quick review and try out of the brush. It's going to take me a while to get used to it, and I think I'm going to have to order a couple more sizes. I think they do a 2-inch one and a 1-inch or 1.5 inches, and so I should probably get both of those too. And then once I've got a set of 3 different sizes, I shall feel well equipped to go for a more sort of ambitious, more complicated sky. But I'm pretty pleased with the way it works. It carries a fair amount of paint and water. It works smoothly across the page. And as I say, just for a single stroke of dry brush for the sea, that was pretty impressive. I've got a feeling this brush can do an awful lot more as well, and so I'll be trying them out and then maybe coming back in a few weeks and doing another demo with all 3 and letting you know how I get on with the different sizes, and seeing if I can do maybe an entire painting with synthetic brushes. So now I'm just going to lay the board flat and let it dry so that the paint doesn't sort of run down or drift down the page anymore. I think flat is the best way to dry these kinds of paintings. As soon as it's dry, I shall remove the tape. The light has changed. In actual fact, the painting is quite a bit brighter than this. I'll try and show a decent colour version of the painting at the end of the video for you, but I'll remove the tape and have a little look, and as you can see, it's all dried really nicely. There's a lovely flow to where I put the paint on with the Sky-Flow brush, and the lifting out I think has worked really nicely here. We've got the cloud shadows that have been caused by the mixture of the raw sienna and the cerulean blue and the ultramarine blue. There's a bit of granulation there, which is very pretty as well. And of course that very lovely dry brush for the water, which you can see has just, with a steady hand, it just went on really easily. So I would certainly recommend these brushes, especially if you're like me on the lookout for a range of different synthetic brushes. And I hope it was a useful video for giving you a few tips about lifting out clouds carefully with a paper towel and with a clean damp small flat brush too. Now here's, as promised, a photograph of the painting as it is, how it looks in real life, and I hope you'll agree that the brush has done a lovely clean job of creating the beautiful sky, and especially that lovely simply painted water from the dry brush stroke. Thanks so much for watching. I hope the review was helpful, and please give us a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And thanks so much to my lovely Patreon group who support this channel, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.